Yeah, I think we've conquered a lot of countries as Americans. Not as musicians, but America has conquered a lot of other countries. So
we figured that Europe's gotten bombed so many times, they just, we're not going to build this place back up. So until they build it up, we're not going back over there.
For years, they would be known as teenagers, long after Mark and Tom had passed the age of 19. Mark had in fact turned 20 just 6 months after the band had started. But something about their juvenile humour and behaviour made them appear to be eternal adolescents.
Mark was definitely the liveliest, so his age didn't show.
I discovered my body when I was fairly young, and once...
Is that illegal? If you discover your body when you're under 18, is that considered, something against yourself?
Right.
Tom probably tended to be more like Mark, but was also a little more businesslike. He wanted to know more of the details on how things worked.
I think if you look at Mark and Tom at that age, they were probably like any 17 or 18-year-old kids, fresh out of high school, typical teenager. They know everything, right? Can't tell them a thing. Totally funny guys.
The funny things with these guys is it's like Laurel and Hardy or Abbott and Costello. When the two of them together, it's scary. If you separate them, you can kind of get through a little bit. They're a little bit, but when they're together, it's unstoppable.
It's painfully obvious that Tom and Mark have known each other a long time and were good friends before the band even started, just by the depth at which they can dig into each other when they're joking around. They've been on my show quite a few times, and it's never boring. There's never a moment of silence. If I'm not talking, they are, and quite frankly, even if I am talking, they are too.
We never actually played naked. I mean, we used to get naked backstage, look around with other bands just do the jokes, you get a laugh or whatever, but the naked thing we're kind of over.
Ready to go, pretty boy?
Yeah, we're all ready to go.
Tom?
Yeah, that's good. Right. Tom's a brilliantly nice guy. He is bigger than life, too. I mean, you could just tell by talking to him that he's got a very, his mind is running 4 times faster than yours. And it's always funny. He always finds the funny aspect in whatever you're talking about.
He's as big as they've become. I just sat there and looked at him and thought, my God, this is blowing up right in front of his face, and he's able to handle it so well. Mark's a really cool guy and goofy, and I've never quite seen him change from when I first knew those guys, before they made it big, to when they made it big. I saw no change in Mark. If anything, I think Tom just started becoming more and more over the top and becoming more and more goofy, because I think he had the opportunity to become more and more of a kid that he wanted to be.
Are you Britney Spears fans?
Yes. Travis is dating her.
We're spreading a rumor that Travis is actually dating Britney Spears, and hopefully it'll catch on somewhere. If we tell enough people, then maybe somebody will believe us.
I started a rumor that I'm dating Brad Pitt.
Travis does seem pretty quiet to me, partly maybe because I don't know him as well as I know the other two, but also because I think that he kind of, remains somewhat in the background. And not negatively, just I don't think he's quite as boisterous as Tom and Mark are.
I'm gonna be 50 years old, I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's go out there and masturbate and, yeah, screw your parents, don't go to school, and I'm gonna be like 50, it's gonna be bad.
I'm sick of all this pointless aggravation, change is something I don't know. And with all this frustration, constant masturbation, well, come on, mom, just leave me alone now.
Blink182 have never waned from their naughty schoolboy antics. Known for talking about their love of porn, outrageous naked frolics and juvenile toilet humour, they are a breath of fresh air, bringing fun and comical behaviour to the straight-laced punk genre.
Their whole approach to potty humor was so brazen, it was so outright, that no band really had been willing to do that, because you have a consideration of wanting to be taken as a serious artist.
I think Mark used to, for some reason, he always had to show me his balls.
I'd be looking through the window, his pants are down, he's sitting there with his legs open, you know, that kind of thing. And he was always jerking around and having a good time, you know, and him and Tom would tag off of each other a lot. You know, and there was times where I would sit there and I'd turn around, they're both like naked, you know, out in the room, and I'm, you know, I don't care to see it, but whatever, you know, it was kind of fun. And I think that had a lot to do with part of their success because they were enjoying themselves.
And that was really their brilliance, because I mean that's when teenagers get together, they don't have this acerbic political wit and depth where, you know, they're quoting literary people, whatever. They talk about poop. They talk about, you know, peeing. They talk about, you know, masturbating.
The one time, you know, I hear him yelling through the mic and I turn around, I was patching something in, and you know, there's Mark with his package sticking out, look at me. That type of thing, he would do that a lot.
Masturbating's really interesting because in Poway High, and I don't know how this became, but in Poway High it was the guys were really proud of masturbating. You know, it was like an outing of masturbation at Poway High. And Blink was basically our little brother, so they hung out in the same circles but in the younger crowd that we were in, you know, which was like the surfers and the rockers and things like that. And we would all boast about masturbation.
But I was sitting in my office looking out my door, and they must have come in, and they just start dancing by the door like in a chorus line, you know, and then they go down the hall. I kind of look out, and then all of a sudden the three of them would come dancing by again, just weird things like that. It was just silly little humorous things that they were just always doing. They always had a good humor about everything they did.
It may be taking it a little too deep, I guess, but I mean, seriously, I think that they kind of unearthed the kid at home, when he's masturbating, doesn't go call his friends and go, hey, guess what, I'm masturbating right now. But after they listened to a Blink182 record, they probably did. Said, oh yeah, I was just listening to Blink182 and went home and jerked it.
In fact, one time, I believe it was Mark who took off his pants on the air while Hillary, our afternoon DJ, was on. That got a lot of talk for quite a while.
He was telling me about parties and things that he'd have over his apartment. And he said, at the time, he said he had this toilet, a regular toilet that he made a bean dip thing out of. So, you know, he put bean dip in this toilet, and people would, you know, chips around it and all that kind of stuff. So that's how, you know, that's how he put together his parties. And I thought, you know, this guy's just classic. You know, he's dirty all the way through, but in a funny way. You know, how can you make a toilet funny?
No one ever smiled as big as you. No one ever looked so good when blue. No one ever had...
By 1993, Blink had saved enough money to record a handful of songs from their Buddha album. They hired out several recording studios throughout the years around San Diego, including Double Time Studios.
They came in to record what would later become the Buddha tapes. And that's when I first heard it, and it was real similar to a lot of the other bands I had been recording at the time. But like I said, the writing was advanced. They had really good catchy tunes. They knew how to write, even back then they knew how to write real catchy tunes.